welcome everyone to our session and the power of positivity to combat tech toxicity. That is a real tongue twister. So if I get it wrong, I know you'll be really kind to me. So we've got, we've had lots of conversations today about how passionate we are about technology and innovation as an industry. But there's no doubt that many consumers are questioning their relationship with technology. And I'm really looking forward to today's conversation. I've just had 30 minutes with this crew, and this is going to be a really lively discussion. Yeah, this is about marketing, but this is about the conversations that were all happening in our homes. That it's very real. So this is going to be quite very passionate, quite raw in moments where we're going to really get into some of the issues, but some of the opportunities that we have as an industry to combat some of these things. So I'm just going to introduce the panel quickly. We have Firdaous Honsali, who's the Global Vice President of Dove, External Communications and Sustainability. She's an advocate for positive beauty. She's driving Dove's sustainability agenda and leading on all of their sustainability topics. We have Sue Fenessy, who has built 3 successful businesses across the world, spanning entertainment, media, data, communications. But in 2020, she founded We Are 8, which is the world's first B Corp certified social media ecosystem, and she is an absolute force. And I'm really happy that I've made your acquaintance today. And then Rio on the end, who needs no introduction, one of the greatest A-League footballers in the UK, now retired for 7 years, which makes me feel really old.
So do I.
Rio is an entrepreneur now involved in lots of different businesses, and he's very much wearing the cap. We're all going to want one by the end of today with We Are 8 with Sue. So let's get started. I'm going to ask this question to all of you, if that's okay. So how would you describe in your own words the current state of consumer confidence in the internet? Let's start with you.
I think, I would say that internet has an amazing ability to connect us. There is a lot of positivity out there. That's the good news. But unfortunately, there is a lot of toxicity too. And one of the things that we've been really looking at recently and for the past 3 years on Dove is the toxicity that you can find on social media, particularly the way it impacts young girls and the younger generations. And I think there is a lot of work that needs to happen there. For us, it's been a 3 years journey. We recognize the fact that social media drives connection. Loads of the younger generations actually find their content on social media, and it also connects us to each other, right? But at the same time, there is this toxicity. One of the things that we've been looking into is no digital, distortion, because there is so much distortion out there on social, and it's creating massive anxiety to young girls with a vision of beauty that does not really exist. So I would say that we have hope, but it's clear that there are some clear actions that need to be taken to make social media, for instance, a safer space for for the teenagers and the younger audiences.
Yeah. How about you, Sue?
I mean, I'm actually probably the last person you ever want to ask that question because it's just not good enough. We're in a pretty bad space, right? We've got teen suicide rates at shocking levels. We've got a generation of people who are isolated, and because they're completely unregulated, and you saw this in your amazing doco, Rio, that you did with Amazon, no one is taking responsibility, and they hide behind freedom of speech, yet what they're fueling is hate speech, and that's making people more lonely, more isolated. And I think things become the massive manifestation of their original intention. And Facebook was built so that those guys could get dates at university and they could judge women. And it's become a massive manifestation of unregulated judgment. And with a mission, really, to make more money for the very few that control and own it. So I think we're in a dark place. I do feel really optimistic because we've built technology to flip that and bring power back to people and unite in support of our planet. I feel optimistic that the solution is closer than we think because we've built that. And I admire the bravery. You talk a lot about bravery, Rio, but I admire you bringing that story to the fore, hearing you talk about it, Fiona, and your perspective. And hearing, seeing you do that doco, Rio, it's about bravery, because together we can really change this. It's closer than we think.
Yeah, I think there definitely needs to be change. I was part of the trying to go to Parliament, to government with the online harms bill. Mm-hmm. But when you're involved in something like that and you see the response from the government, that really, they're not really, the desire is, I don't know if that's the right word, but they don't seem to want to have the change. For whatever reason that is, you can draw your own conclusions. But I think that it's so difficult to see change for something that is glaringly there in your face. I mean, I don't know how many people are from England, but the last Euros, the 3 players that missed penalties, the online abuse and reaction that they received, if that wasn't a signal for the government to get behind this and create a new online harms bill with new rules and regulations, I don't know what is. And I spoke about this earlier today somewhere. You think about those 3 guys, they couldn't have any more resources than you could ever dream of or wish for. The support of an institution of their football clubs, but also their nation. But still, there are young people who I've spoken to privately who are sitting there going, I felt so alone, I felt so, the anxiety levels I'd never known ever in my life. I felt there was no help, support. And these guys had the resources, like I said, that only everybody would dream of. Now you imagine you transform that abuse to the young people that don't have the family, don't have the network, don't have the friends, don't have the confidence. And we're leaving those young people alone because the rules and regulations aren't there to help them. And that's why, me personally, you're probably sitting there, how the hell is he sitting on that stage? Why is he there? But that's why We Are Rate was so compelling for me once I met Sue and her team. That there was like, it answered a lot of problems that I probably even as an individual have at my dinner table or breakfast table with my kids who are young teenagers. And a lot of the answers that I'm searching for are within We Are Rate. And so that's why I'm definitely here and championing something like this.
So, on that, what can brands and creators be doing to address the issue? Sue, what's your perspective there? What's the action that should be taking?
I think the first thing is realising that there is an alternative. And one of the things that we really obsessed with, we spent years working with a team of behavioural scientists looking at, is it possible to deliver a digital ad in a way that guarantees attention, delivers that ad more effectively, but most importantly, leaves someone feeling really loved? Because we were looking at the average engagement rate on a digital ad at 0.4%, and we always say, what would Sir Alex say about that? He'd think it was a bit shit.
Yeah, shit.
You're shit.
That's quite tepid, yeah.
So for us, reimagining digital advertising in a way, I mean, we guarantee 10% click-through on our fully completed video views, because we realised if we could reimagine digital advertising in a way that worked better and left people feeling really loved and brought brands and people closer together and shared the majority of the money with people, publishers and charities in the planet, then we can wrap around that social media technology that is like Instagram and TikTok had a love baby that changes the world. So you can still dance on TikTok, tweet on Twitter, but change the world on 8. So the exciting thing now is for brands, the tech exists. So step up. You don't have to. I mean, we heard brands say all the time, and I love your bravery doing this beautiful ad. Now imagine that on 8 when you have 80 million people engaged around that. Then you galvanise just 1% of our human population, 80 million mums, to say, not on our watch, no fucking way are we enabling that anymore. And I think it's that. I mean, we've invested $40 million in a relentless 8 years to build technology as an alternative. And it's not just us, it's partnering with other media operators to give us immediate scale. So just get on, download the app and right now start, because we've got 6 years to save the planet on top of all the other toxicity and everything else. And they're all interlinked: economic crisis, mental health crisis, climate crisis. It's only people power that can solve all of that. And I say to Rio, you captained Man United, but imagine when you're representing the collective voice of 800 million people back into governments, then you drive change.
I think some of the work that I came across this week being done out of Dentsu UK, we are tackling the legislation piece. We're going to the government challenging the online safety bill with regards to the use of AI beauty filters. And that
Good luck.
was off the back, thank you. And that was off the back of a campaign that you ran. So talk a little bit about that campaign.
Yeah, so actually what happened a few weeks ago, we saw a filter trending on social, and that filter is called Turn Your Back. It's called Bold Glamour. And so that Bold Glamour actually filter, what happened is that it's a filter that girls and women have been using on social, and creators were calling it out because it was transforming completely their faces. Like literally, I saw so many of them doing this and trying to get it off, and it would not go. So they were quite shocked. The filter had been used after a week by 15 million people. And so we saw the filter trending, obviously. We saw the conversation from the creators that work with Dove and have been fighting for no digital distortion for all these years. And we said, we need to do something very fast. And so we turned around a campaign in 48 hours, which was called Turn Your Back to Bold Glamour, and asking our community to turn their back to digital distortion. If they don't see your face, if the filter doesn't have your face, it can't, filter it. It can't transform it. It can't distort it. So it was really critical for us to drive a movement and really create change and say no digital distortion is absolutely critical. We're not going to let actually distortion happen on our watch. And it created a real movement. But I think what you can see here is it's a campaign that came out of creators who were already criticizing what was happening on social. And what I feel actually is there is positivity, because we didn't come and changed on our own. It was the creators were already actually saying, this needs to stop, I don't want this. Yeah. And it came also on the back of, it's not just, one campaign. Yeah. Back in 2021, we launched this campaign called Reverse Selfie, where you saw a girl going through you see the final image, the final selfie she's posting on social, and then you see the reverse selfie process that she's gone through. You see her in her bedroom. In a way, she is completely, she feels very bad. And what you understand is that as she's distorting actually her image, she's distorting her mind in the process. So the point is raising awareness around these behaviors, the toxicity that is on social, which you were pointing at earlier. But not only doing that, really trying to change the narrative and change and bring creators and bring the younger generations with us to make the change, because they're there, they're on the platforms. Yeah. They're native on the platform. They know how to use it. They know how to push back on toxicity. And more recently, a few days ago, we launched another campaign called Cost of Beauty. And in this campaign, you see a girl called Mary who shows you and takes you through her whole story of eating disorder on the back of the impact that social media had on her. And that is a really serious matter. You were saying it's our kids are sick because of social media. And so we felt we needed to do something way beyond raising awareness, beyond educating young girls, which we do with our Dove Self-Esteem projects. And we said this time, we need to change, we need to support a bill to change the design of social media, to make it a safer place for kids. And so we went and supported the Kids Online Safety Act in the US, and have been using Cost of Beauty to raise awareness and get people to sign petitions and push for this COSA bill to go through.
So, you mentioned it in your intro, Rio, but from teenage girls in bedrooms to A-list footballers and some of the things that they've experienced, how do you think technology can be harnessed better to deliver that more positive combat and to combat this toxicity?
Yeah, I think having met Sue and the team at We Are Right, I think there wasn't that alternative before. I was making a documentary at the time when I met Sue and the team about sexuality in football, racism in football, mental health. And all three of those different things was impacted massively in a negative way through social media. And it's about, again, I think content creators are huge, but I think the brands are huge as well. I think the power in this room here, but the power of the big companies that we see all around here, they have huge power and they have huge reach and the ability to really make change with the tech that Sue and the team have built and others. But it's about making sure that you do want to do that, but come together and do that. Step out from the crowd. And you talked about being brave. I never won anything in my career through just sitting there and just dipping my toe in and saying, I'll see how it goes. You've got to go all in. If you're going to win, you've got to go all in, and you've got to say, I'm going to back what I'm doing. I believe what I'm doing. I know it's for the right reasons. And the children that we're talking about here on the stage, that most of the people here will be associated with, they're in a position where they do need our help, and where there's people here that can make the decisions to really make impact and help, and don't wait for the government. We don't need to wait for them.
No anonymity, I think. I think the other thing is the idea of trying to get off, or to get kids off those platforms, or thinking those platforms will change. They won't. But we can create an alternative, because our whole goal is we want you only spending 8 minutes a day and then go and live. But in that 8 minutes, feel inspired, feel your power to change the world, reconnect, watch a couple of ads, donate to charity, pay your Spotify bill, feel really good about yourself. Because in 8 minutes, when you can't be anonymous, by the way, and there's zero, so we've integrated tech with zero tolerance of hate. And I'm happy to talk about how we do that. But that's critical, because a lot of those platforms have built their numbers up because there's fraud and anonymity, and you can hide behind blank profiles and everything else. When you can't do that, then that changes the game. And when you were talking about the internet earlier, that becomes a healthy gateway into Web 3.0, the light side.
Yeah. So, I mean, so inspired by all that stuff that you've just talked about there. I listen to that and I just think about, like, practically how can we as an industry scale that? Like, how can we create a million versions of you as people that are running global brands that can start from that place? And I guess I'd just love your perspective on, so I run a media agency. We have people here who run creative agencies, who run CX businesses, who are owners of brands. How do you change the conversation right at the top? When that brand book is being created that says this is what this brand is all about, that's that guiding light for all of the marketing ecosystem that sits around it. How do you change that conversation?
I think it starts with I was talking about creators this morning, and I was saying, it's very easy to do transactional influencer marketing and end up as a brand, just paying influencers to deliver a job for you. It's easy to do that. I think it's very wrong. Because the reality is, if you want to be highly authentic, and I'm going to explain why I'm talking about that, is that you need to create trust with the community. And that trust comes from the fact that you share the same values. And that as a brand, you have a value system. You have a belief system. There is something that you believe in. For us, it has always been our purpose, which is about, really shifting beauty from being a source of anxiety to a source of happiness. So you see the way beauty shows up on social is something that is very ingrained in what Dove has been doing all these years. Yeah. So I'm probably not giving you the straight answer of how everyone can change, but what I can say is that as brands, we need to have a value system, we need to have a belief system. It can't be just, we're trying to sell products. Of course we want, but there is a way in which we can do that. And so going back to having values, having a purpose is really critical. The second thing I would say, very practical. It's very easy to say to your creator community and look at your content and say, I am going to stop digital distortion. It's not going to happen on my watch. That's one easy thing that you can do, because girls out there are seeing content that is completely distorted. It's having a massive impact on them. If I tell you that 70% of the girls distort their images before they hit 13. You're not supposed to be even allowed on the platforms before 13. So it's a real point that we need to take on. When you see the story of Mary, and you hear from the mental health specialists that tell you Like 8 out of 10 mental health specialists tell you that social media is fueling a mental health crisis. I was talking with my neighbors just this week. They told me in one street there are 3 girls that are going through eating disorder at the minute as we were talking. So the story of Mary is not isolated. Unfortunately, it's a big problem. And like stopping digital distortion on your content, honestly, I have to say it's probably the most easiest thing you can do.
Yeah.
But please do it.
Well, it's those simple things, isn't it? It's creating those simple guardrails that then everybody can live by. And we always talk about a lot within Cara is encouraging our teams to kind of challenge the brief. Like you get a brief in from a client and it says deliver X, Y, and Z. If you have a genuine insight and you think there is an issue that client can be tackling that they haven't thought of, you have a duty to take that to your client and to start that conversation. And this notion of change the brief is really important for us within the ecosystem that we operate. So Rio, you're obviously dealing with lots of public figures, and you're really, really passionate about this. What do you say to them? What's your advice to your community?
To be honest with you, a lot of the guys and girls, they're looking for something, an alternative. They just don't have it. And it's not even a hard sell when I speak to the guys. I talk about what this does, the different layers of goodness that it has. And a lot of the guys want to do good stuff. For instance, a lot of players or athletes, they have foundations, they have charities that they align themselves to, but they have no ability to scale that project that they go to. They go in, they take a picture, hi, how you doing, cuddle. It lasts 10 minutes, and they've got a picture, that's it. There isn't ability to scale that beyond that 1 or 2 people or that group that you're with. And We Are Rate is that ability to scale the projects that you want to align yourself to a bigger audience. They have the tech, they've built great tech behind it to do that. So I can go, my foundation, we've hit 10,000 kids in the last 10 years, which is a great number, and we've affected those kids in a positive way. Got them into the workplace, re-educated, etc. Kids from disadvantaged backgrounds. But I can't really go past that. It's going to take me another 10 years to do 10,000 more kids, but I want to go bigger and better than that. And you look at the likes of the Marcus Rashards of this world, the Harry Kanes, the Jordan Hendersons, they've got a lot of stuff that they want to do, and they're doing great, don't get me wrong, but there's the ability to scale that with tech, and we have tech here that is really ready and waiting and willing to do that. So that's one of the things I speak to the guys about, and they're open to it.
Do you know one of the things that...
The problem is the first 3 guys that have come on are Liverpool players, so it's really, it's killing me.
They love you, actually. One of the interesting things is seeing how, when you were talking about trust earlier, there's almost this, in a new trusted environment with zero tolerance of hate, people are showing up as themselves. So even seeing Rio show up and share more about his family, and it's just taking it that little bit further where I don't have to be my fake self here because I'm not going to be judged.
Yeah.
I can actually share the love and get the love, and I'm okay to show up as myself. So I think that's going to be really exciting, seeing how all these creators show up as their truest selves.
We've only got a few minutes left, so I want to see if there's any questions in the audience. Does anybody have a question for anyone on the panel? I think we've got a roaming mic, have we? No? I can't believe nobody has a question for these guys. I think... So, one piece of advice. We're going to leave everybody with one sentence of the things that you want them to go away and do. I think I know what yours will be. But what would that be? Let's start with you, Firdaous.
Yeah, of course. I would say, challenge what you see on social and challenge yourself to actually deliver advertising that is not toxic, that is actually, just like I would say digital distortion is one that I would like tackle from tomorrow in your advertising.
Challenge what you see. That's a great message. Sue?
Well, our values are be honest with yourself and others, be brave with yourself and others, and be you, because everyone here has more power to change the world than you imagine. Actually, just the people here can change the world right now.
Last
Very
word
similar.
from you, Rio.
I think very similar. I can't believe I've gone last.
Yeah.
But no, I think advertisers to be brave. I mentioned it earlier when I
Bravery,
was talking. I think stepping out from the shadows,
Yeah.
being brave and being out there,
Yeah.
being on the right side of good.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thanks everybody for joining. Oh, we have one question. Sorry, let's finish with that.
Sorry, I came in a bit late with that one. I've got a 5-year-old daughter, and probably like a lot of fathers, I'm nervous already about social media when she grows up and stuff. What advice do you have for parents of young children who aren't at the kind of level where they're going onto social media platforms yet, but they will be in the next 5 years or so?
Let's fucking fix this in the next 5 years and don't give her a phone.
What a great ending. Thanks, everyone.